pleased to be joined today by Sneing Fong, who's here from SciArc and the principal at Hudson Fong in Culver City, California. So thank you very much for joining us. We've got, just trying to figure out who's coming from furthest away, but I think the rest of us are mostly local. So we've got at the far end Joanne Gates, who's been teaching for about the last 6 years at UBC Sala as a sessional, making very valuable contributions to Comprehensive Studio and some other areas. So she's a Gates Suitor architect. We've got Covington, who's principal at Measured Architects and also a graduate of the MArch program at UBC Sala. And finally, Chris Sklar, who's recently returned from New York, has taught in the ENDS program in the past, and we're very fortunate to be joined by him again as he gets his practice off the ground. So I think with no further ado, we may be joined at some point by Patricia Patkow, who's of course a principal at Patkow Architects and needs no further introduction, one of the better known architects around Canada. She's currently AWOL, so if she comes in, you'll know who you're looking at, and if you're not familiar with her already. So with no further ado, I'm going to introduce Cesar Niculescu, who's going to talk to us about the Internet of Things and its ramifications on architecture. I should say we've got 2 presentations this morning. There'll be just under an hour each, and then we'll break for lunch, and then we'll have 3 in the afternoon. So, and I'm Joe Damon, if you don't know me, a faculty member here in the School of Architecture and Landscape Architecture. Take it away, Cesar.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Cesar, and today I'll be talking to you about body and space, calling for an adaptive humanist architecture. I want to start this presentation off by coming out with a quote from Air, where they state, today one hardly changes space to its needs, instead one adapts to space available or moves elsewhere. And this came about from the unaffordable housing dilemma in London from a few years back. And through my thesis, I kind of want to challenge the normative issue where we no longer take our spaces to be as personal as we can because we're kind of pushed away due to access to ownership and access to controlling our residential environments. And as an aside, I want to also touch upon what's happening in the tech center. So Spotify is an app, if you're not familiar with, that lets you listen to music from anywhere in the world from their set of library, and you pay $10 a month and you have access to their services. Uber is a technology company that tells a driver to pick you up and get you from one place to another. And these companies are basically providing services that let you take advantage of things that you do not own. And what's interesting about these two is they form a collaboration where if you're listening to Spotify and you get into an Uber vehicle, you can seamlessly transfer your music to the taxi and continue your playlist right from the get-go in a stranger's car. And this is basically software as a service integration that's being deployed as changing the experience of one's urban environment. Similarly, this notion is invading the home. So Google last year announced Google Home, which is basically a voice recording assistant that constantly listens to whatever you say in your house and will respond to Google search queries, and it will also connect to hundreds of different companies and services. So you can order pizza, you can hail a cab, anything like that. Additionally, they acquired Nest, which is a smart home thermostat, which you can change the temperature within your environment as you desire from your phone, and it will also know if you're coming home to precondition the space for your arrival. From Apple's perspective, they're trying to create an ecosystem of developers and developers, so both building developers and app developers, and they're trying to tie in trigger systems of manufactured products that will be embedded within your phone. So lighting systems, garage doors, they can all be triggered from an app, and you can set rules and conditions where you automatically change their state based on your activity. And architecture has kind of taken account of this. This is building as a service instead of software as a service. So even in this room, you see a Siemens occupancy sensor. You have different controls that kind of detect our presence and adapt the environment based on this condition. But Ren Koolhaas does state that the tech world's gradual commoditization of architecture is taking place, and we're not really doing much about this except for the trigger state. And I would say architecture is in a similar position to what automobiles are at this stage, whereby we're augmenting our dumb environments with standalone devices, with plugging in vendor products into our environments. And we're not really caring about integrating these environments and enabling a connected state. So a Tesla, for example, you can change the behavior of a Tesla with over-the-air updates. So the performance and the feel of the car can vary based on software. And this can all be updated and changed as one desires. I'm also looking at, this is Kiva robot systems. So Amazon doubled the capacity within their warehouses by deploying these robots, 220-pound units that can lift 750-pound cargo. And whenever you order a product in the States on Amazon, you're likely calling up one of these robots, and it's going to a shelf, picking up whatever was placed in that shelf that you ordered, bringing it to a distributor and allowing them to ship it. So this is a very pragmatic system of streets and highways for these robots that interact with one another. And they have their own charging stations within the warehouse. They're basically allowing a far greater capacity within a warehouse at 20% the price that they used to allow. So this kind of posed the question that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, and I want to go away from the pragmatic sense and say, how can our environments do more than just the pragmatic sense? So I started looking at various sensors that allow us to detect the environment, and I categorize them into various monitoring states. So we have ambient sensors that detect the environment around us, motion sensors that detect movement within space, body monitoring systems, so you can detect brain scans, you can detect heart rate tracking, and you can also detect tactility and haptic feedback. And through this, I kind of did an experiment. This is what my 2016 looked like. This is taking from 65,000 values the maximum heart rate every hour of every day of 2016. And you can see here in April where it's a little bit more purple scattered throughout the day. That was during comprehensive studio, and you can see levels of stress being changed. And you can tell this just from heart rate data, which is kind of interesting, just taking into account one parameter. But what if we augment that to calendar notifications and other sorts of data? And this was using a watch, which is kind of bulky and needs charging. So we're also getting to a point where we can miniaturize these biometric sensors. And definitely insurance companies and hospitals are interested in this technology because we do want this monitoring. But I asked, how do we make our residential environments more personal and responsive through the integration of these intelligent devices? And this is kind of where I want to explore. This is my site of intervention. It's a new project proposed in Yaletown, which is in Hampton. It's 8X on the Park, if you're not familiar with it, developed by JDL Architects and Brentville Developments in Rennie. And I've been looking at this building primarily because it's been advertised as a comfortable living residence. So it has a Nest learning thermostat, it has ambient LED lighting, it has in-floor radiant heating, and they're saying that this is a very comfortable environment that you can take out your phone and change the color of the lighting, change the temperature, change the heating conditions all through an app. And I kind of want to challenge the business of usual as IoT as it's currently being deployed. So I'm looking at this as a typical floor plate within the structure, and almost 11,000 square feet. It's being subdivided into 10 different units, so you can see the variation between the studio space and the 3-bedroom plus flex space in terms of small, medium, big. But what I'm primarily interested in is 70% of this floor space, which is dedicated to living and sleeping spaces, while the rest is internal within unit services and core and corridor. And I began looking at, if you want to deal with this furniture realm, how do you easily partition a space for deployable structures. And I was looking at basically taking a Roomba and a screen and putting lighting and saying, what if you use this to simply divide a space based on function, and if you use lighting to respond to people's biometric data. But I believe this is kind of limiting in the sense that the screen only provides a binary surface whereby it's undulating, but it's not really showing any definition through its movement. So I was really curious and fascinated by deployable structures as seen in origami. So this is a deployable solar panels for space. We're also using the Mira-Aura folding technique for surgery interventions, so it's non-invasive and expands once within the body. And this has been a large focus of my material research. And I did a quick kangaroo simulation to see the characteristics of this material and how it behaves, metamaterial. And what's interesting about the Mira-Aura is it behaves much like a leaf, whereby the tessellation and the crease patterns give it rigidity in its corrugation. And you can kind of see that in these models here. And I was also curious, what would you do, what would happen if you change the angle of the origami fold? So this is looking at the degree of Poisson's ratio, how much height is decreased or increased based on its length properties. And if you look at the fold at 94%, you can see a much more collapse of the geometry in vertical compared to the 150, where it's almost nothing in regards to how much this geometry changes as you fold it. And I did a quick experiment with this folding sequence and seeing what if you move this structure and what kind of pattern can you unfold by giving this array and allowing it to perform. And through this, I kind of realized the constraint that through a plate pattern and at this scale, it's very rigid and cumbersome, and I prefer its qualities as a paper form. So I kind of tried this out and realized the scale was too big and didn't really work, so I kind of tweaked it a little. You can have a look. And from a different scale perspective, this is kind of the first view of how I imagine it to be deployed. So this is Stephen and Michael within their bedroom, and the screen is aware that it's bedtime, so it's preparing them for a sleeping environment. It's giving them a light show within this small enclosed space, and it's basically trying to lower their heart rate and prepare them to go to bed. And this is what it looks like from within the unit. So it currently knows how many residents are within the unit, what their heart rate is, and it's using that body monitoring to assess what position and what mode it should be in. And additionally, through this design, this intervention, I was looking at if we're going to have these movable partitions, how do we deal with sleeping accommodations when they're not in use? So this is basically a sleep box module that opens and closes and revolves, and then it also serves as a storage compartment for the deployable screen when not in use. And the screen can basically be used to divide a space, expand a space, be used on a surface to display a show array with an interactive wall feature, or it can also envelop, so it can go around the control element and close you in. In the second view, you see the deployment of the screen in dividing the space. So you can basically see kids playing within their own environments on one end, and parents talking, having their own space on the other. And the wall is basically vaulting down, carving out a space for them that gives a sense of enclosure and gives them a sense that this is their space to play. And also what's represented here is a perineum, whereby given that the circulation space can be closed or is no longer fixed, what would you do with that additional space that used to be nearly a hallway? And this is what it looks like from this apartment. Additionally, you can directly manipulate it. So on each panel, there's a series of sensors. So you can either push away a region, bring it closer, push away the whole wall, bring it closer, dial through color or dial through brightness. And what's also interesting, as I mentioned, is the awareness mode. So what happens when you tie in biometric data? What happens when you tie in calendar integration? You know how busy it is when your calendar is full. So this is a view of Ryan, Michael, and his parents within another unit. And Ryan, who's 9, is really upset at Matthew, who's a teenager, 14, minding his own business, kind of a rebel, playing music in his own space. And he's not really aware that Ryan is disturbed by his actions. So the wall is basically reacting to Ryan's heart rate and telling Matthew that Ryan doesn't really like what you're doing. And it's basically giving him a visual feedback of what Ryan is doing. And this is what that looks like. In another unit, you see Lee. Lee is 32, and he just bought his new apartment, his first small unit. And here you see he's hosting a house welcoming party. And the screen is basically serving as a lighting and music installation. So it's closing off the space that you don't need, and it's providing a sense of intimacy for the party and the gathering. And this is what the unit looks like in convention condition. And lastly, we see a multi-generational living situation. So this is Stephen, 67 in the back there, with his children who are in the kitchen, and his grandchildren who are playing in front. And in this case, you see the screen is deployed from the ceiling, and this can basically close off the kitchen space to prevent unwanted acoustics and smell from entering the living space and disrupting other residents. So this is kind of a brief overview of an initial intervention of screens, and I'm curious what you think in terms of this initial state towards a more fluid, a more aware, responsive, open plan. Thank you.
I really appreciate that the extensive research that you've done to understand the system. My question to you is, most of the example that you have shown us all seem to be freestanding, even though you suggest that it may come down from the ceiling. And then you use the last description that you used was an open plan system. So to a certain extent, what I see is more like a freestanding partition, right? Not an intelligent one that can be deployed through different sensory, motion sensor and all of that. But the question to me is, to to what extent is this integrated to the interior architecture of the unit itself?
Yep.
And what are your thoughts?
Right. So, I guess the first precedent I found for a deployable screen was the KVA one in IDA Hamburg, where it's basically a track where a curtain will unroll with LED lighting integrated within it. And it's a very dumb on-off state on a track, how far it expands. The way I see it is the built space kind of shows the constraints within which the screen can be deployed. So the wood is basically saying this is the realm within where the screen can operate, and the rounded edges is basically saying this is how the module can be placed in relationship to the wall. And it's enabling that interaction of modular movable elements.
Right, because to a certain extent, the Amazon
Yes, the
robot
Kiva system.
system is kind of based on the grid,
Yes.
right? And so the grid is highly flexible, and it's, I think by looking at that, it's either 3 feet or 5 feet, so it could be anywhere.
Yes.
And my question is, every single one of those examples is very specific. It could be at the corner, it could be in front of the kitchen, and that there is a certain flexibility to that, but it actually is not quite that flexible because it really is dependent on where you want things to be placed. And to me, the open plan, is kind of too open because you don't quite know where it is. It would be interesting because there is such a disciplined way of how you go about developing this work, which I think is pretty brilliant. It's not only it's beautiful, it takes on all of these different configurations. And it would be interesting to use that and pair it with the kind of neutral, this interior space that we want as it is. But I think that has a lot of design in there, is intense in terms of what we can do, right? So I'm interested in that kind of tension between this and with a very neutral environment. And I think that for me, like the next step is where do we find a common ground to make it so that it doesn't feel like it was just a furniture. Because I think it's very much is part of it creates a different architecture. It's a different environment.
Yes.
So it is not just a screen on a furniture.
I believe this is kind of the first step. So this is the smallest first intervention that we can make. And then we can push from that initial instance to
Those are really valid comments. I totally agree with them. These are incredibly beautiful explorations. And I was struck when I just looking at this one from like near, compressed very little space to, I want to pull this apart too much, but does it actually go flat?
It does go flat. So if I take it, I'll just show it to you. This is what
I
you see.
didn't want to.
You're competing with the ventilation system here. If you could speak up to the rest of the room, I'm sure would benefit.
So if you lay it flat, this is what it looks like.
Like that's pretty awesome that it does not on the other extreme. Like the other extreme is that it crunches.
Tricky. But yes, it does compress the
Like this smaller,
this
yeah.
small, yes.
And what struck me, I mean, it's so beautiful that I had the same response that the furniture scale see unity and also the interior scale see unity. But when you do that, that's more of a landscape, right? Like you can occupy it as a flat surface, and then you can transform your surface into, I don't know if that would be stairs or, like there seems like there's other possibilities at different scales that's very exciting in what you've started. And the version right now where it's just a divider in an apartment is the first step, but I would love to see you move to the exterior, move up in scale and go back to the scale and find out, can we walk on the surface and then when we want to sit, it gently moves up, and then we can lounge, gently moves up, and then it becomes another kind of surface. And I think those are the kinds of things that might make it more infrastructural. Because I mean, the one detail that when I'm looking at the interiors, I always ask the question, how does it attach at the top and bottom? Like, what is that? Because it's non-structural, right? It's not wood bearing, it's partition. But those are really important details. So it raised the question for me as to how can this become more infrastructural in the architecture, the structure somehow be weaved in the gaps, because there's a very deliberate gap in this framework to make it operate. So everybody, you can imagine each of those as a unit instead of the way that you have it up.
Just picking up on that, clearly a mediatory tool is a reaction to a space that is not against neat sets of adaptation. So I already am processing how this starts as an outpost idea and it's going to become something that may replace a large component of living space, ultimately as it moves away in these two places. What I'm really interested in is, how one mediates mediation, and we're in all of the precedent, we're talking about a world where you're becoming a forecaster, and that's a hard enough job to keep that under control so that it doesn't limit you as we talked about, and begin to assume what you want based on what you have done and how you have been in the past. When you begin to mix it with other individuals, then you are at cross purposes at times. How do you think about how this operates to allow for a mutation to occur where the mediation is not as binary as the needs of one? And how do you ensure that these forecasting tools, how do you ensure that they don't begin to box you into an assumption and allow for the analog world to continue to show you things that you didn't know you loved? So how do you deal with that?
That's a great question. It's a difficult question. I think it also touches upon how Google currently answers questions on Google Home. So it will parse through various queries on the internet and try to find the answer for you and then tell you. But often it's wrong. Like it will tell you Obama is a dictator and various false news claims that have been brought into the system and have negatively impacted the performance and the perception of that system. And what's interesting is if you ask the same question 6 months ago, 50% of the time, that answer has changed already. So there's a lot of monitoring that's going on to enable the kind of understanding of what we're doing wrong when we're telling people mistruths. And this system will definitely have to deal with that also, because there has to be an AI background that takes into account different parameters. And how do you prioritize those parameters? How do you override those parameters? Which ones do you consider as the most important ones? So there's definitely a lot of factors.
Often you find that automation requires tweaking well beyond our abilities in order to create an opportunity. So perhaps I'll ask you another one. Where would you want the lineage of the analog world, the chain that allows for an individual to draw a blind or open a window themselves? Where do you see that mixture occur? Where does this not go?
It might go fully backwards before. But I guess this kind of goes into the question of Tesla. They've removed all their buttons, and this has become a usability issue because you don't know where on the screen you're supposed to press when you're looking at the road. And a lot of companies, because of various usability studies, they decided we're going to have partial buttons. So even in newer cars, Lucid Motors and other Silicon Valley car startup. They're looking at how do you blend those two technologies. So you will have real buttons that you can touch and make things change, but you also have a screen where you can do what the screen is good for.
So how would you apply that to what you're doing here, though? I mean, if you continue that analogy and apply it to your own work, how do you see that spread?
I guess, as you can see in the visualizations, there's definitely static elements, static architectural elements that will continue to exist and always be there. So I definitely don't think it makes sense to change that.
Yes, it's interesting that we are talking about analog and that you have to kind of put fake button. It's like a skill morph where
Yeah,
you
skill morph
design,
design.
right? So this notion of skill morph is one that gives a level of comfort and customization to everybody. But
This is just, like if I'm driving my car and I'm involved in this about my steering wheel, I just have to feel for it. There's nothing romantic about that. It's that I don't actually have to look at a screen to see where's that volume button. I can just feel it with my hand. So it's a tactile.
yes, but if you can touch a screen, it's equally tactile. Yes, I mean, I actually own Tesla and I have never missed a button.
Okay.
I can vouch for that. I can absolutely vouch for that. I have not for 3 years ever missed a button because it's a touch screen, and touch screen is tactile, and we as humans are adaptive. So the fact that the title is about adaptive environment, we adapt to how we use things, right? I can tell you that when we start driving and there was no automatic transmission, I remember my father was very uncomfortable because he's used to stick shift because he was much more in control of acceleration and all of that. So I think we always adapt. So I'm not concerned about whether it's about the analog or the button. I think eventually we all are going to move away from that. It's interesting how we all use an iPhone. An iPhone is very, it's something that is like a second hand. It's second nature. You don't even think about how to use it. And you may have a button about volume, but basically we're using that screen all the time. So, I wanted to actually get back to your comment because I think it's a really, really good one in terms of scaling the project. Because the limitation that they have shown to us is just a kind of a couple of applications that are very similar. It's all about enclosure, right? But it doesn't suggest anything beyond that. So it's a wall. It's just a screen wall. So you have given us a screen. Whereas this system, with the tessellation, you can reduce the scale, you can increase the scale, and with that, it comes with the structure.
Metamaterial properties.
The material, the way it's everything is absolutely related to that. So the fact that there's a lot of technology that should be embedded into this system, I think is the next step. It's not just about, it's not about what you can do, but I think it's that I put a hard technology, not the soft technology, because the soft technology is what is telling us that it can do this, it can do that, like sensing the heart rate. But I think we live in a world and that comes, the analog part is actually what I call the hard technology, because we are bound to gravity, we're bound to lateral force and all of those things. And for me, that's the most important thing. Because this, I I was very impressed when you were saying that this is a failed test, because you also realize when you scale it up,
Yes.
it's not performing the way like you're much more comfortable with that voice already.
And it's also the plate structure, so the rigidity of their changes and their individual components. There's a lot of things that change when you change seemingly minor things.
Seems like a wonderful challenge to take up going forward. Because within that, imagine, children's playground or all kinds of things that aren't about rails, that are other kinds of surfaces. So I think, there's a comfort level in that. Sometimes the uncomfortable thing is the respect.
It seems like the conversation suggests a kind of interesting term in a way. I wonder if it's really the screen versus the button, as opposed to say drivers versus driverless cars. Because I mean, there's a kind of assertion here that the biomimetic data is what's going to drive the system, and you're gradually kind of like taking. Sorry. Well, yeah, but it's just simply sensing your heart rate and it's doing something.
It's that statement that you said about technology becoming invisible, which is kind of what I believe. I have these two things. There will be no interface. Right? Driverless cars will mean that there is no street infrastructure. Everything will become public space, that kind of thing. The one, maybe this is going in a different tack, but the one reaction I have is, you don't know me. Right? I go to Amazon and it's like, it feeds back all the books that I've already bought. And I mean, one of my favorite things to do as a 20-year-old is walking into a bookstore, looking for Homer, walking out with Hemingway. And that never happens. And it's about serendipity. And so when you tell me that you're closing off the wall so no smells get from the kitchen to the living room, I think that's a tragedy. Because that kid is never going to grow up with this kind of subconscious understanding of what their grandparents' food smells like. So, in a kind of larger scale, how does this technology understand that, deal with these things that we don't actually understand? And I think as a really talented designer, understands those things at a very deep level and can create those kind of those moments of serendipity that create meaning and go beyond. And so I think for me, kind of what's going to come to a head with a lot of this technology is how do we manage that, and also the discomfort of someone like, and maybe it's a generational thing, me having this feeling like, no, you don't actually know that. Only I know me, right? It's I don't think
But what he's proposing, however, is that you are in control of whether you wanted to close off the kitchen or not.
It sounds like it's not. It sounds like it's all supposed to happen automatically with no interface.
So what is it?
Well, what would you say about Amazon? Like if you can search for any book, or if you browse within the browse category, it's a different experience than when it's telling you these are what we think you should buy based on what you look at.
But I would say there's a failure of interface there, because I had a collection of 3,000 CDs. It was an entire wall, and I could immediately pick out John Coltrane or Shostakovich on that wall. Now I've loaded it onto my computer. Oh, that's great. I have an iPhone. I can take it anywhere, and I never listen to it. Because to scroll through my phone to get to the thing that I want, whereas looking at my wall and being like,
But you can
I want to listen.
Shostakovich.
Yeah, but it's the thing where I'm like, oh, look. Yeah, but you have to know. You have to know that you want to listen to Shostakovich. Whereas when you look at a wall of all of your music, you can be like, oh, Tchaikovsky, I forgot about that. I want to listen to that.
Do you ever press shuffle or random?
That is hard to do with classical music, right? Because it will give you one movement of a Beethoven.
So which is it though in the system we're looking at? Because I guess the reason I asked the question is partly because we entered, I mean, just try to get us away from here. iPod, music. like we reached a point with building occupant controls where they were completely stripped from inhabitants. In the kind of 60s and 70s, like common to have buildings that have inoperable windows. Absurdity. And yet here, like you're returning control, but based on a kind of set of biomimetic data that I may or may not be able to actually, kind of like exert a kind of subjective choice over. And so I wonder, is this fully biomimetic, or is it actually a kind of hybrid system where I can decide to deploy something, or that it's a kid's bedtime, even that that they're not ready? How do you see it functioning? Because it seems like it's left a little bit like up in the air right now.
I see it that the user always has control, so you can always override performance.
Yes, but it's a really, really good point, because it could become like a Jacques Tati Mono kind of movie,
Yes.
where
Rock around in Jacques Tati.
if I reveal with my heart rate beats a little bit too much, then suddenly the screen will go down, and I have to like relax, and the screen will go up.
Yeah, and I think that, to capture some of this, I kind of feel that, some of us haven't got over sick building syndrome yet, and how buildings begin to control and own you. And so I think that's kind of some of the subtext here. But, as I think through this, I think that I have a really strong reaction against traveling with individuals or witnessing individuals who take their known life with them, whether it be in the form of an RV or visiting a Starbucks, And Uber, I've just traveled around with Uber, but what I remember is not the Uber experience. I remember the conversation I had with the cab driver, which is going away. The cab driver's gone probably within a couple of years. It'll be an automated vehicle. And I think that, to take a play out of Shootings Against Cities, I think, without a doubt, the elegance of these kind of ideas, and they're elegant, if we have a default setting which begins to anticipate us, understand us, and give us that as a start point, I think that's helpful with known overrides. And I think that the digital override is a wonderful aspect of it, but I do think, and I would urge you to think about the evolution of these ideas, to think about the lights out moment, because most of the automated homes that I've done for clients who come back as repeat clients say, please never do that to me again, because I could never get my house to work when the lights went out, when the power went out. And so I think what's really important is, Julie talks about collision programming, the accident, and if the analog override of the digital preset gives an opportunity for those two kids to work out their problems through speaking and hand manipulation of the object, I think some new outcomes can occur. And those are the accidents which can allow serendipity to exist. And I think that, when Tesla goes into the pond, you need to get out through the skylight. And when the system fries, how are you getting out of it? I always want to know where the handle is, so I can get out. But I think the same thing with this. When the lights are out, can I still control my life? Can I still conduct my day? And I think that's really what it is, so that sick building syndrome doesn't take us over.
Cesar, these solutions are very technically you invested in a huge number of capabilities and possibilities. The thesis started off with this about the interaction with the body. And I'm wondering why it's not interaction with bodies, because if I'm the single person engaging with the screen, then I can make the trick. If you can either sense something that will change, or I can change it, that's possible. And when we had the two in there, the two brothers, that was sensing the younger brother's angst and adjustments were made by the older brother. But the two parents were sitting there independently, so I can see it going up to two. And the kind of interaction between the screen and the body, how that negotiation takes place. What happens when you go up to others? So, how does it negotiate what position should be each time resolve not one person's desires, or resolving between two, but now negotiating between seven? And those could be gender differences between them, there could be age differences between them. How does it deal with the bodies?
a great question. When I started this GB2 phase, I was looking at co-housing and seeing if the screen can work in a co-housing, co-living configuration. And you realize collisions of people's desires is a huge issue. And the only answer I can kind of relate to that would be using an AI to solve these different collisions. So you will see as traffic lights get removed from streets, cars will be talking to one another and making these decisions between themselves.
Wider range of considerations for those decisions.
And it will be, the screen has to react to all those points. You're correct. And all the other screens.
So I think maybe we're just about at time here, but not to try to sum up too completely, but I think that what I've really appreciated about the conversation is that it's clearly presented us, and having worked with you over the term, with the kind of a new take on some coming technologies and how they might be actually integrated into the architecture as opposed to kind of stuck on. And so in that vein, I think that the comments that have been really, I really appreciate the discussion, especially around how the system interfaces, basically the intersection of the system and the architecture. So if it is just simply a rolling screen, maybe it's not kind of like really fulfilling its mandate in a way, but in fact, it begs the question about how it actually intersects with the kind of fixed dumber parts, whether they're, be it the actual architecture or the physical meat bodies with which it interacts. And I think that there's some room there to develop that. But I can't help, as the conversation has been rolling along today, in the kind of context of this whistling ventilation system, and looking. Actually, this is a really helpful room in which to have this discussion, because we have this massive, as Banham pointed out many years ago, all the pipes and conduits and everything are sort of like, a major part of the architecture, and it makes me wonder if to build on some of what's Ming suggested, to consider it as just a screen almost really sells short some of its potential. So I think that, thinking about how, and some of the conversation we had about the possibility of integrating some of the other functions. So, you've done it a bit with suggesting acoustics, but also, even as a response to sick building syndrome, it could be actually a kind of roving, the dystopian version of it is it follows the occupant around trying to purify the air, the toxic air from the carpets, these inoperable windows, but the point being that it could actually integrate a kind of on-demand ventilation system, lighting, sonic, like a whole environment that again might be tied in a kind of hybrid way to biomimetic data, because in fact, my wife informs me that often I don't realize that I'm angry, she does, of course, so perhaps the system could also, soothe me before I actually did something I was about to regret.
Soothing
But,
music.
whether it's through the distribution of organones, ozone, or oxygen, whatever it is, or perhaps carbon dioxide sometimes. Anyway, I think that what's really exciting is the willingness to kind of take on a difficult subject. You really charged in, and not everything's fully resolved, but I think it suggests some really interesting directions, and for that.
Can I ask a couple? One direction you didn't comment on, that I'm really intrigued by is an outcome of this that apartments get smaller?
Can be. Or you don't have your own apartment. That's another aspect.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, you use this existing frame in which to test this, but it wouldn't take long before that was the open proposition as opposed to
well, that was your starting point, right?
Yes.
It's not that the apartment would get smaller, that you could pack like 3 times as many people into the unit, which is amounts to the same. Yeah.
Well, and I think that in a way that leads to what I almost see this as 2 separate propositions. There's a screen,
Yes.
but there's the automation, and actually the screen is a roof. You don't need the screen. Like that apartment could be automated so that it completely reconfigures itself depending on what's going on.
Well, actually, the Kiva system suggests, as you see these shelves moving around, I started thinking, actually, in part, again, going back to some of what you were suggesting, like, the actual furniture in the space becomes very limiting because your system keeps bumping up against it, but it's almost like you could push it harder to say like every aspect of it can now move around and rearrange. And so it's not simply a screen, but it's almost like it begs for kind of like more complete, just kind of dive into this.
You could buy the Amazon aspects of it, which I hate it. I mean, it's like when you see the Amazon, it's a very benign
It's a bunch of shells.
No, but I mean, the plugin and everything is all embedded on the floor. So it's not invasive. It's not
Yeah, I mean, it's very striking that the real loser in it is the poor picker that has to pick the teddy bear. They can't, it's still cheaper to hire somebody to pick off the last thing, so you have these people, the shell is constantly, just kind of
Like sitting at the pulse.
But that answer like what we always need for.
Yeah,
I mean, I particularly, appreciate the fact that you open up the question about what's next for the future, because it brings us a certain level of this comfort where everything is completely automated, and we, again, as human beings, have a certain need to be able to be in control. And if I can't open the door because, and actually this happened, I also drive a Fiat electric. And one day, the battery just, it was a flaw in the battery, and we had to recall all of them. Driving in the middle of the road, and it just went, boom, it died on me. And it would die on the freeway. I mean, I can get out of the car because you can open the door, but there's nothing you can do about it, because you rely entirely on something that we have no control of. You can't open the door, fix it, put a wire, and then.
But I mean, could you really do that with a contemporary car? Like, I mean, when you look under the, what they do?
Oh,
I mean, it's got it like.
No, Tesla doesn't have anything. You have what you call the front, which is the hood in the front. The front is basically another trunk. It's nothing. There's nothing. It's like a car and with 4 wheels and it's there. So it dies on you walk.
But as an example, the S-Class combustion vehicle, just the interior, there's 70 sensors within the interior envelope. So a lot of things can go wrong, and a lot of things do go wrong, and it becomes very expensive to deal with that. And we don't really have control over that because we just have to fix the sensor when you get it to work again.
All right, we're going to have to do that after this comment.
But I'll just make one quick comment. I really appreciate the presentation because it got us to a place where we had this conversation really fast, so thank you for that. And I think that this is an incredibly charged project because some of the things we didn't get to, but we were hinting at. But it really does bring into question what is comfort, what is change, because this kind of project has a lot of stuff. It's like it brings the magic component, brings it alive where we may have to start moving towards understanding how this is coming, this technology is coming, it's already here. But right now, this suggests that it'll reach your mind, and it'll tell everyone around you what you're thinking. And we have a formal self and we have an informal self, we have a bitchy self. And I think it starts to beg the question, how much do we want the world around you to know about you at what point? So I do think this is truly, I think it really is a good host site to deploy this thinking because it is a mediatory tool. This is going to be the graffiti on the wall that helps describe a series of new problem sets as the world anticipates us, and I think we need to see what this thing, what all of the parameters are telling the object that we need to do, so that we decide whether architecture is going to heal us or whether we need to just simply move to visors because we don't need architecture. And so I think it's a helpful tool to get that answer on the table.
And with that, we're going to have to go to the back of this. other side of it.
Whole day.
You done?
Video fist bump. Happy? Yeah, definitely. Awesome. I think that went really well.
Hey, Derek.
Fist bump you too.
Lift.
Yeah.
How are you? Good. You were very chill, but you was no chill. Like you had no chill.
No, don't worry about it.
It's really, so you're taking into account different senses. The wall itself is reading your mind. If you have an EEG on, then it's reading your mind. Like a brain wave scanning. So like any yes, exactly. So you're choosing how many and which inputs to feed its behavior.
So you could potentially have two people in the room and it would only be
If you only provide access to one.
Please have a seat. They're a ruder.